In exploring the natural law theory, we delve into a philosophical perspective that posits an inherent and universal moral order governing human conduct, rooted in the belief that certain principles are intrinsic to human nature. This report seeks to unravel the foundations, key thinkers, and implications of the natural law theory, shedding light on its enduring influence in ethics and jurisprudence.
Natural law theory by Thomas Aquinas. It is a foundational concept in moral philosophy. Asserts that there exists an inherent and objective moral order in the universe, rooted in the idea that certain principles are ingrained in human nature. This theory suggests a framework for ethical decision making that transcends cultural and societal variations. In this exploration, we will unpack the fundamental tenets of natural law theory, examine its historical roots, and consider its contemporary relevance in shaping ethical perspectives and legal systems.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will embark on a journey delving into the moral dimensions of natural law. Now, before we discuss or plunge ourselves into the intricacies of natural law, let us first understand what natural law is. The fabric of natural law began weaving itself along Aristotle's journey, particularly in in his pursuit of understanding what eudaimonia is. Now, eudaimonia is a ancient Greek word which is synonymous with flourishing or living a life of true fulfillment or virtue. This philosophy is often intertwined with Aristotle's philosophy. With this information in hand, a philosopher named Thomas Aquinas emerged. Thomas Aquinas was a 12th century philosopher in which he amalgamated Aristotle's philosophy and Christian theology, solidifying natural law as a moral compass rooted in reason and divine order. Aquinas proclaimed that natural law consists of inherent, meaning na nasa atua, and natural law consists of inherent and objective rules governing we or us, governing the human behavior. Now, however, as we delve into the topic further, critical questions arises, such as how do you identify one as morally right or wrong? Or for instance, when a person is in the middle of a moral dilemma and that person is forced to act against their own accord, will the action be considered as morally right? Furthermore, if an individual caught in a moral dilemma chooses an action that seems contrary to the moral order dictated by natural law, is it then deemed morally right or wrong? According to the tenets of natural law, these are the inquiries that will be explored in today's event. Moving forward, while unraveling the complexities of these questions and engaged in a thoughtful exploration of the moral dimensions of natural law, as we navigate through this intellectual terrain, we'll also ponder the implications of Aristotle's eudaimonia. What is the reason for eudaimonia? Why do we pursue it? Why do we pursue life flourishment? The fusion of Aristotelian philosophy and Christian theology by Thomas Aquinas, and the enduring quest to decipher the moral fabric woven with the natural law. Now, envision a scenario where the very essence of what is morally right or wrong is put to the test. Now, imagine a person or scenario where the very essence of what is morally right or wrong is put to the test. A person stands at the crossroads of a moral dilemma, compelled to make a choice, forced, coerced. What unfolds in that moment? Is it a mere intersection of conflicting values, whether it is right or wrong to do so? Or does natural law provide a guiding light through the moral fog or through the confusion and the moral dilemma of a person? In the next few minutes, we'll be exploring these questions, unraveling the intricate tapestry of natural law, its implications on our understanding of morality. So buckle up for a journey into the heart of philosophical inquiry, and where the timeless wisdom of Aristotle, the theological insights of Aquinas, converge to shed a light on the moral dimensions of natural law. As we delve into this topic further, we will be exploring things that may conflict our beliefs as to what is right or wrong, and how do we apply these things in our life? How do we avoid these things? And how do we deal with these things? Problems or moral dilemmas? Now, as we delve, keep in mind that the profound questions that have echoed through the corridors of the Western philosophy and this research, and let's endeavor to unravel the mysteries that lie within the fabric of natural law. Please keep watching and enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, now, to start off, let us first know who is Thomas Aquinas. Who is Thomas? Saint Thomas Aquinas. He is a 12th century philosopher born in 1225 at Rocca Secca, Italy. Came from a rich and powerful family and also set to take a religious career. And along his journey, he became a saint. Now, what is natural law? An ethical and philosophical theory that proposes that the human possesses an intrinsic, meaning it is within ourselves before we are even born, na nasa sa atua, values, intrinsic values that governs our reasoning and behavior. It is an absolutist and deontological approach to ethics. As I have said earlier, Thomas Aquinas synthesized Aristotle's philosophy and the Christian theology, solidifying natural law's place in philosophy. It is traced back to the ancient ideas natural morality, the view that humans have an inherent sense of right and wrong, the way we perceive things, whether it's wrong or whether it is right. This theory is best known as the Christian system of ethics or morale. Now, natural law. Aquinas adapted Aristotle's view that all things have a purpose in his virtue theory. Aquinas says that you can find that purpose by looking at the natural world and the Bible, which is the Holy Scriptures, or the commands of God. The Bible shows purpose for God creating men. Humans are free, but not lawless, meaning we have the freedom to do things we want to do, but we are not privileged enough to do the things that go against this intrinsic and inherent rules that are set by the natural law. God designed everything to serve a purpose. Naturally, everything has a purpose. Even stones, pebble, rocks, everything has a purpose. We can find this purpose through observation of the natural world, surroundings, everything around us, and the Bible, which are the Holy Scriptures. Humanity was given the ability to reason and the freedom to choose what is right. We are given the ability to perceive things, and based on the things we perceive whether it's wrong or right by the use of reasoning. Now, natural law is the rational understanding and the following of God's final purpose. In this book, the Summa Theologica, Aquinas says that there is a natural law which is accessible through the natural order. This natural law, that is the book saying, is the intrinsic property that we have and is accessible through the natural order, which is the Bible. Natural law is universal. It is unchanging for all time and is relevant to all circumstances. And it's also given by God. Everyone knows the natural law, but only theists realizes its effects, like after death. It is universal. Why? Because it can be used everywhere, anywhere, all the time. It is unchanging. It doesn't change. However, it depends on the person if that person wishes to use it or not. Secondly, for all time, which is you can use it all the time, relevant to all circumstances at any given situation, whether it is eating or not, playing or not, walking, sleeping. You have the right or you have the power to use the natural law. Now, it is given by God. In Aquinas' book, the Summa Theologica, he identified natural law as the will of God, the commandments. Everyone knows the natural law, but only theists realize its effect, like after death, because atheists, on the other hand, does not recognize God. They do not dili nila gina-acknowledge ang Ginoo. They believe that everything has a reason and everything has a beginning, but they don't accept that God created those things or the beginning.
So we will talk about the primary purpose of human life. So God gives us a purpose. These are the things that is designed for us to seek, which are also known as the basic goods. Now, all living things just naturally want. So first is life. So we are given life so we could preserve it. That's what others call self-preservation. So we have this drive to sustain lives. Aquinas thought that God built all creatures with survival instinct, and this is seen to all beings, especially to animals. Now, these are already evidences that shows that we have this survival instinct to protect ourselves, to run away from dangers, and also to preserve our lives. So next is to reproduce. So the ability to reproduce is a very common thing for beings. This is one thing that is given to us so that we could multiply. We make more life, we make more beings. These are given to us so that we would be able to give knowledge to others also. Next is, of course, after reproducing offspring, this is already given to us, right? After reproducing offspring, we are expected, of course, to educate one's offspring. This is very basic. Now we put our kids to school. They give lessons in morality, especially in morality, how they are teach things which are right from wrong. They are given that also. So these three are given to all creatures, to all creations, but some basic goods are just for humans. This is what they call things that is uniquely for humans. Now, these are given, or these precepts are given to humans only. So next would be the ability to worship God, or the ability to seek God. So we have this built-in instinctual desire to know God. So we seek Him in our lives, whether we've been exposed to God, to the idea of God or not. So this is already supported by John Paul Sartre, that he said that we are born, we are all born with a God-shaped hole inside of us. But strategy for him, he was an atheist, so he believed that this was an emptiness that could never be filled. Next would be to live in society. So from Aristotle's book, Aquinas also said that humans are naturally social animals. So part of our basic good is to live in community with others. So of course, it is also important for isolation sometimes. Short periods of isolations can be good. He believed that we're basically like pack animals. We have this drive for love, we have this drive for acceptance, and of course, our susceptibility to peer pressure are all evidences of this. So, since we want to be part of the pack, so it's a good idea not to alienate our packmates. So, it is very common for us to be in line with the community, to respect and showcase what is good in the community. Next would be the secondary precepts. So these are rules which cause people to fulfill the primary purpose. So these secondary precepts are the support of the primary precepts. So everything which we logically need to do to live in accordance with the primary principles, that is to respect parents and do not murder. These all things are just some of the examples of secondary precepts, and this goes according to the primary precepts, which is the ability to live, to reproduce, to educate oneself, to worship God, and other things. So these are given for us so that we have a support. We have a support in our primary purposes. So the possible secondary precepts are the following: the preservation of life, which talks about sustainability of life. We have this drive to sustain ourselves. So the following things are a violation of it, like murder, suicide. These are the violation of these things which are called unethical. Next would be the reproduction. Reproduction are the things that associated with procreation, having sexual intercourse, multiplying, and all that. So anything that is violated in this are having contraceptions, what's other homosexuality, I guess, could be put under this, because having a relationship with the same gender gives it does not allow a reproduction or the reproduce beings in this, which makes it unethical and violates these secondary precepts. Next is the order in society. So as we all know, we are a social creatures. We can't live by ourselves. That's why this is called, there's this thing called no man is an island, because we can't live by ourselves. Now next would be, we will be talking about the double effect. So this is things that is associated with the natural law. So according to natural law, it is our intentions that are important, and the consequences of our actions, where there is an intended outcome and another significant but unintentional outcome. So this is where double effect would not allow, you to perform an action that has devastating effects. So this would associate with things that do not align with your intentions. The consequences of your actions do not align with your intentions, and this is not allowed to perform. Next would be the four types of Aquinas natural laws. So these four types are the following. So eternal law, natural law, human law, and divine law. So eternal law talks about God's rational purpose and plan for all things. So eternal law is always been a part of God, and eternal law has always been existed. So the question now is that how could we identify eternal laws? So we could identify eternal laws by the natural law. So this is the second types of Aquinas natural law theory. So the natural law basically talks about the internal rule that we intrinsically recognize. Intrinsically recognize means that we do not need to read this from the book, we do not need to learn this from church, from religion, or from the culture, but we are already embedded by this knowledge. So now, as I've said before, eternal law has always been existed with God, and knowing eternal law, we have to know the natural law. Natural law is the instinct that we already have, the instinct knowledge that we already have. The following are the preservation of life, the reproduction, the educate of young's life, seeking God, living in a society. These are the things that are under natural law. Another type of the natural theory are the human law. So Aquinas called this law as the human law. So these are the secondary precepts. So human law was made because the natural law is too general, no? And people need specific rules to guide our day-to-day activities. What are the example of human laws? Human laws are given to us by the government, the things that we follow every day, the traffic regulations, the do's and don'ts in public, what else? Things that are given to us by the government, or things that we abide in our everyday lives, are the human laws. Now, God's command are there to help us see what is right and wrong rather than figure out right and wrong. Now, let's talk about the divine laws. So, remember that God has always had a design for everything. So, we are constantly drawn to do what is right. So, because that is how God designed us to be. So, we came up with specific rules to guide our behavior because we are capable of reason now. This design has always existed with God. This follows the eternal law. We are constantly drawn to do what is right because that is how God designed us. Now, this follows the natural law because we have the intrinsic knowledge already to know what is right, what is wrong. So next is we came up with a specific rules to guide our behavior because we are capable of reason. Now this follows the human law. Now again, God created us to know what is good and right, and we are using our reasons to be able to derive what is good from what is bad.
Now, going back to the situations, how does one identify what is morally right and what is morally wrong? If a person acts on their accord, and that action is opposite to the natural law, or it brings harm to the common good. For example, the preservation of life. The action that you are going to take, or an action na yung ginakuha, is mo go against sa natural law, then that action can be considered as morally wrong. However, if that action goes with the natural law, it doesn't endanger or it doesn't go against the natural law, that action or that choice can be considered as as morally right. The next would be if the person would be forced to make a choice that is against his or her own will, and for instance, here's an example. You are walking in the street, and you found a wallet that's got a lot of money in it. Then you think to yourself, should I return this wallet? Should I return the money, or should I keep it for myself? The obvious would be to return the money because that would follow the natural law. However, what if the person is under a moral dilemma? There are three kids waiting for that person to return. They are hungry, their parents are dead, they have a debt, and those three kids are waiting for that person for them to eat. Now, the scale is not balanced because it's more on ma-sided siya on the emotional part. Now, here's the situation. Would the latter action, and by the latter I mean the action that the person would take the money for himself or herself, for that person to feed those three kids in home, or that person would return the money, he would go home empty-handed, and those kids will go home. If your perspective is the person, that has found that wallet, what would you do? Now, here's the hard part. It would be considered morally wrong if you would choose to take the wallet for yourself, or you would take it to feed the kids, because it would go against the principles of natural law, which is the common good. It would violate that law, for stealing is against the natural law, and stealing does not give the advantages for the common good.
After learning the natural law of St. Thomas Aquinas, we may come to realize why certain actions are wrong. By examining this law, we may learn to examine also some of the ethical issues and problems that the Philippine society is facing nowadays. To understand Aquinas' natural law, we have to understand two things. We have to learn that Aquinas was coming from the medieval period, this period wherein the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholicism actually bloomed, came into power. So we can therefore see that the ethics of St. Thomas Aquinas is grounded with Christian morality or teaching.